In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the 5 things for immediate impact on increasing SharePoint adoption. Now, the same type of 5 things could be used for SharePoint and Office 365 adoption. These things come from true stories and successes, as well as failures related to the user training and adoption that I've had in the past in my career. There's also downloadable artifacts that I'll show over here that you can download right away and use. Feel free to use it as much as you want, wherever you want. Also, tips on specific programs and initiatives that have worked for me and for our clients and all in the past. So let's get started. Here's some information about me, just a quick snapshot of who I am. My name is Asif Rehmani. I'm the founder and CEO of VisualSP, and at VisualSP we're very focused on providing contextual help to users at the moment of need when they need it most. I'm not going to go dive into this right now, but that's who I am. Let me get started. Alright, I look at the jumbo problem that we're trying to solve in the industry, in our community, I would say, is the following. Imagine you have this beautiful looking plane, right? Lots of capacity. You've spent a lot of time furnishing it inside and outside. So much work has gone into it, but there's a problem. I mean, what's wrong with these pictures that you look at over here? You have all this investment that has gone into it, but where are the passengers? Where are the actual people that you have built it for? Doesn't matter how much money, how much time you spend on the initiatives, in this case, of course, SharePoint or Office 365 initiatives, there has to be people using it. Otherwise, what's the point? And this is a lesson that I've learned a long time ago. You have to start with the users. You can't start the other way around thinking what's beautiful, what's going to look nice. You have to start with the users. In fact, I look at this following quote that I'm about to show as a guiding principle for myself, that it's okay to make new mistakes, but if you are making the same mistakes over and over again, then it's the result, it's a definition almost of insanity, right? What's the point of doing the exact same thing that you did in the last rollout of when you were making the grand launch, or when you were just launching a new program internally in your environment and that failed? What's the point of doing the same exact things again and have the failure come up again? So you want to make new mistakes. New mistakes are fine, but let's not make old mistakes, is my humble request. So having said that, I'm going to show this idea over here of user adoption as a service. So in many companies that I talk to, people just deal with user adoption activities as a one-time thing in the beginning or right before the beginning of the rollout of a new environment, right? Now, don't get me wrong, that it's definitely fine to have initiatives that are taken right before the actual rollout, right before the launch, and then as you're doing it. But it is super important, or just as important, to have adoption services or ongoing support for users going forward. And the more you can automate that support, the more you can make things just so they're there for the users as they need it, the better it becomes. So I'm going to talk about that and a lot more in this presentation. Let's get going. Number one, definitely the top thing to think about is you need to look for and solve a critical problem. All right. There's a radio station called WIIFM that all of us are listening to all the time. Whether we agree or not, it is true for every one of us. And that station, unless you've never heard of this term before, is called What's in It For Me. Your users are thinking about this thing, you are thinking about it, your executives are thinking about it, everybody's thinking about it. Even if you're doing something for somebody else in a very altruistic form, still you are thinking about that satisfaction, that fulfillment that it provides you by helping others, which is wonderful. But that is always happening. And the reason I put this up, obviously, is because we need to understand and tune into that radio station of our users or the people that we're trying to help. If you tune into it with the same frequency, you're going to know what they're listening to and you're going to be able to help them. If you got your own thing going on and you're not able to truly understand what they're thinking and what their motives are, that's a recipe for failure, unfortunately. Now, before you do anything with any initiatives or any ongoing support mechanism, we have to make sure that the executives are on our side. That, unfortunately, I've seen not happen in many places, and wonderful people, extremely talented people have left their post because of this. In fact, I'm thinking of one specific speaker who does a lot of conferences where I speak as well. She left a large electronic company not because she didn't have the team who didn't support her, not because she didn't have the users who were actually getting better and better at adopting and truly accepting the initiatives that she's putting out. The only reason was that she was not getting the executive support on her side. Truly a big loss for that company. But after she tried for many years, unfortunately, it was still not working out and she had to leave the company. So we need to get the executives on our side. There's no other way around it. That has to be there. One of the things that I would propose to do that is to show them the data. Right? Executives are motivated by the bottom line, and data truly helps. So here's a survey that we had done. This was by taking 376 organizations that we had surveyed, and here are the results of exactly what people are thinking that this is their biggest SharePoint challenge. Obviously, I think we all know this, that it's increasing adoption. And then after that comes governance, which is right here. So if you go to this link right here, you can download the results, and hopefully this helps you make the case for it to your executives. Moving onwards, let me share a story with you. Now this story happened back in around 2010, so we're talking about SharePoint 2010 was just deployed at that time. We as a company were sent to Tennessee. We were asked by this customer to come and evaluate their current systems, their current processes, see if they're effective or not, and propose what we can do about that, right? So in Tennessee, we get there, we realize that there's actually two different buildings. You got a building here, and you got a building over here. Now this building or this organization was funded fully by Department of Defense. So money was not truly an issue in this case. They had the money to pay for the services, and they also had the products. They in fact had all the products that under the Microsoft umbrella, especially with SharePoint, Excel services, all that kind of stuff. They had everything at that time. Okay, so we got there. The first thing we did was got into the first building and see what's there and how we can evaluate. So we got this first building. First thing we realized right away is that this building number one over here had all the basically doers in here. So it had the project managers, the developers, the architects, the secretaries, etc. Number two over here had the executives branch and then some other functions, HR, things like that. Okay, and they were set apart about half a block away from each other. So we went into building one where all the action was happening. First thing we noticed, there's a secretary over there. All right, so the secretary, of course, had multi-functions. The first part of her job that she did every day in the morning, all throughout the first half of the morning, or actually morning till the early afternoon, was that she actually went into Excel. In Excel, so I believe it was 2010 right there at that time, brand new at that time, they had deployed it already. She goes into Excel, she goes ahead and manipulates some numbers, analytics, etc. And then she would print out that report from Excel directly to a printer right behind her. So let's say the printer was right here, right beside her. She would print out this report, then she would walk it over to the other building. Yeah, physically walk it over to the other building to show it to the executives, to talk to them, to answer any questions, etc. And then she would walk back to the building. Okay, so that took the whole morning. So until the early afternoon, until lunchtime, that's what she did every day. All right, so we saw this process. We knew that this process could be improved definitely, easily, right? Think about, so they had licenses to everything, so that's not a problem. You could think about Excel services at that point in time being the perfect mechanism to run some uh, algorithms and all within that automatically, get the data from the right places, generate a report using reporting services, maybe even have some dashboards created automatically. Once the report and dashboards are created, an alert could be sent automatically to the stakeholders, in this case the executives and others who would need to consume this report. All this stuff is happening automatically every morning. So we envisioned this thing and more, wrote up a nice report of this evaluation, and then we had to present it, of course, to the stakeholders. Now, obviously, the first stakeholder you have is the secretary, right? So we went to her, we presented the report, we talked about exactly how this is going to affect the function, how it's going to make it so much more streamlined, so much easier. The response we got was like, well, this is already working. The process that I'm doing, everybody's happy with it. I'm satisfied. The executives have not complained, so I'm not sure why you're trying to fix something like this that's not truly broken. Okay, so we thought, all right, well, it's job security. It makes sense in this case. So that was one evaluation we got from one stakeholder. Then we went to the second building, obviously over here, and we talked to other people who were sitting over here. These are my heads over here. Okay, so we talked to the executives over there, and then we told them the same thing, that listen, you have the products, not a problem. You have brought us in to make things more efficient, more streamlined. So here's the first process we would like to start with. It would just be no code development using all these different tools that you already have. The services component, it would not even take more than a couple of weeks, and it could save you many hours every day, and it would make things very automatic. Obviously, it's a quick win, very easy to sign off on, makes sense. But what they told us at that time surprised us. They said, no, we don't think this should be done. We don't think this is a quick win. We do not think this process needs to be changed. And then, of course, we want to know why. What's your reasoning behind that? The first thing they told us made sense, which was, well, when she comes over every day, she lets us know, exactly what's in the report. We can ask questions, inquiries, and it's much easier than doing it through email or doing it through phone call. It's just, she's right there. So it's very easy to understand that data because she's there. The second thing they told us was complete surprise. And what they said was that in that first building right here, we have all these people, the developers, architects, etc., program managers. What's happening in this building is critical to the function of our company, to organization. Now, when she comes over and we talk to her every single day, she brings with her the information about what's going on in that building. The more subjective type of information, for example, how's the morale, how are things going, and that kind of information we do not get when we're walking over ourselves and we're in that building. It's just a very different dynamic when we're there. So that information is, is irreplaceable. Can you generate that with your automatic reports? Of course, the answer was no, we can't do that. So because of that, they killed that project, basically that specific initiative, and we had to start over and look at other things to improve, because this was not a pain point for them. Had we gone ahead and changed it and made this happen, guess what? Nobody would have used it. So a lesson learned definitely for us, that this was something that was not a pain point. This was not something that anybody was going to use, and we had to truly find the pain point, the true pain point that people, that it would help. So hopefully you got something out of this story as well. Craigslist. Most of us know Craigslist, especially United States, very, very popular. Why? Definitely not because of the design of the site. In fact, I think it's still a pretty terrible looking website. Having said that, the adoption rate for this is great because it brings together these sellers and the buyers, right? Whether it be product or a service, it just bridges that gap very quickly, very easily, and seamlessly. So before the website, obviously we had classified ads, which we still do, but this just took it over and made a big bang, putting these people together that wanted to be connected online. So once again, the adoption rate is great because of what it provides, not exactly because of the way it looks. Having said that, if you look at these two organizations side by side, you have to ask yourself, which organization do you want to be? And how do you truly measure adoption anyway? Do you just onboard people and just call it a day? Call it a day? Meaning you say, all right, well, we got people online, we got them connected to these services within SharePoint, within Office 365, and after that everything will get taken care of it by itself. That doesn't usually happen, right? As you can see, the exchange rate, which is email, of course, goes up, but other services like Skype for Business or Teams now and SharePoint and other services, they kind of lag behind, especially because people have not found the business outcome that they're looking for. Now, obviously there's a very, very easy way to quote unquote boost your adoption to be 100%. You can make the home page for everybody the SharePoint page or one of the Office 365 applications page, but you don't want to really do that, do you? You don't want people to just come to your sites, to your pages that you want them to come without finding a true business outcome that they're looking for. A true adoption is always, always based on business outcomes. What are they trying to achieve? How can you help them what they're trying to achieve? That is the only way to get people to where you want them to get to, is to provide them the information they need. And then after that, you can provide them the information you want them to see. But first, we have to always think about what's in it for them. Here are some examples of real challenges from the field. I am going to mention these, especially because these are good examples of how you can make quick solutions, quick wins, and these really, really work out well in the real world. And many of these, in fact most of these, you can do without any coding whatsoever to get some quick wins. So for example, onboarding salespeople to get revenue in their door quickly. For organizations that depend on salespeople for their revenue specifically, they need to onboard salespeople quickly. So for that, if that could happen within the Office 365 and SharePoint applications, then obviously they will appreciate that. The second one applies to everybody. Expense reimbursement after you go to an event, conference, whatever, you want to get paid quickly. If this is not optimal right now, can you figure out a way to make this optimal using SharePoint or something similar to that? Providing one place for a person to see all of their assigned tasks. This is still a big problem right now. You have Outlook tasks, to-do tasks, personal tasks, maybe you have tasks in Project, Planner, Trello, Asana. There's so many different places. If you could consolidate all these things together using some no-code technologies, people would love that. And it's definitely possible using SharePoint and Office 365. Easily filterable list of authorized vendors, resellers of your company. So I've seen this as well. Being able to just easily collaborate and get information for outside parties really helps. Not easy to do for many companies right now. Organization of companies' trade show booth. Our company also and many other companies have trade show presence. So how do you make that efficient, the whole process from first gathering everything together to actually being at the show and then follow-ups and doing it all in a hopefully pseudo-automated manner? Makes it much, much nicer to organize. And this last one is something that I saw actually at Sony Corporation, where they just put a web part of how to find the nearest printer right on their homepage on the top right. You just go there and automatically you can connect to the nearest printer and print to it, which was a big quick win for them to get people to their homepage. Let me tell you a quick story here of something very personal, something that happened with my dad. So my dad had a flip phone, so to say, for the longest time, and I could not get him to realize the value of a smartphone. Now this is many years ago, and now he uses the iPhone all the time. However, how did he get on that when he was so resistant to technology, so averse to it, saying, I don't need it, I need to make phone calls, I need to do messages, and I got this in my phone. that I have right now, Asif, so why do I need a smartphone? Here's what happened. We have a pretty big family, right? Now, because of that big family, we want to be connected with each other also. So his family, his brothers and sisters, and then their kids, and us, we all want to be connected online. So some years, actually many years back now, one of our cousins actually made a WhatsApp group. And in that WhatsApp group went everybody in the family. Anybody and everybody who had WhatsApp, which is almost everybody, excluding him, went into the WhatsApp group. And then the collaboration started like crazy. Everybody was talking to each other in real time, very, very quickly, very easily. And now you're talking about people who are in the extended family from around the world doing this thing. Who was left out? You guessed it, my dad. Of course, he didn't want to be left out. Every time he saw somebody collaborating and talking to each other through WhatsApp, he felt that need that, oh man, I am being left out from this conversation. So obviously, what happened? Because of that one application, that one app, WhatsApp, on the phone, he adopted the smartphone. Started with the iPhone. And once he started with WhatsApp and started seeing the power of all the other things that he had on the phone, the adoption went from just that one app to other apps to more and more apps. And now he's almost, I wouldn't call him a super user, but he uses the phone a lot for many different applications. And that's from somebody who was pretty averse to going to a smartphone to begin with. Now, we've been talking about solving this pain point for users, right? Looking for and solving that pain point. Also remember that when you're solving that pain point for users, you want the solution to be built in days or weeks, not months or years. And the reason for that is you want to give them the feeling of delight. You want to give them a quick win, which is truly quick and doesn't get drawn out for a long time where the excitement dies away. And that's the formula for truly creating believers and champions and evangelists in your company. Which brings me to the next point. Identify and support champions and evangelists in each department. That's tip number 2. Now, why do you need champions to begin with? Obviously, there's only one of you, or there's maybe just a few of you, and you have your central place that, of course, you need to provide help maybe to potentially from dozens to tens of thousands of people, depending on the company size. This type of support, this type of training and support, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't always work nicely from the central location. You want it to be decentralized. In fact, you want the ownership and accountability across departments. So then locally for each department, team, region, you have these what I would call SharePoint guys and SharePoint gals who are truly the power users, the citizen developers, the champions, the evangelists, whatever you want to call them, and they're the ones who are helping you spread your message, who are the ones that are champions that can help create and sustain excitement in the business units. Right? All business units need to have the buy-in to the goals of the company and to the goal of the initiatives for SharePoint and for other Office 365 applications if you're in that realm already in the cloud. Now the next question comes, obviously, why would somebody want to be a champion? Right? Why would they want to be have this role of additional work potentially of being the evangelist, being the MVP, whatever you want to call them? Well, research shows that money is definitely not the main motivator for most people. I'll say it again, money is not the main motivator for most people. There are other things that people value a lot more. They might not say that in surveys and all, but there's definitely a lot more things which are less tangible, if you think about it, but they matter a lot more. For example, increased visibility to senior management. That helps a lot, actually. Also having a say in the direction of the technology for their team. Also helping define and shape business policies. These kind of things go a long way in motivating people and getting them, once you give them this title, to get them to act on your behalf. Obviously, there's got to be something in it for them. And these things, this exposure and this power, so to say almost, truly, truly helps. Obviously, you can always give them recognition as well. And with recognition could come bragging rights, the distinction of honor of you are the SharePoint guy, you are the SharePoint gal. Our company VisualSP actually makes these stickers that we pass out at conferences and all, and we look at this almost as a badge of honor. And people put this on their laptops or on their kiosk in their offices to signify that they are the man, they are the woman for the group, for the company. These things really, really work. Moving onwards, number 3, focusing on context, not only content. And what I mean by this is we already have access to a lot of content these days. We're blessed to have so much information all throughout the world, accessible directly from our smartphone, from our laptop, desktop. The new challenge is the lack of context. In fact, I'm going to go as far as saying that too much information actually hurts adoption, because people can find information from anywhere. And I mean, we're talking about SlideShare, YouTube, blogs, articles, all kinds of things. There will be good information. Sometimes there will be bad practices as well. And just because it's a bad practice doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just works badly, or it creates problems later on. For example, think about somebody who's saying, oh, you can make a subsite, and then you can make a subsite underneath that. And someone starts making a subsite of a subsite of a subsite of a subsite, and now, oh my God, you got a big problem. Same thing with lots of documents which are named version 1, version 2, etc. These things, of course, are allowed. Doesn't mean it's the right way of doing things, right? So we need to be very, very careful of the type of information that's delivered to our users and when it's delivered. Context, super important. I'm going to give you an example. This is something that happened many years ago with me personally, and hopefully this story helps put things in context as to why the best information, the best practices is so important. So there was this experienced trainer. She had had training experience for more than 30 years. Okay, extremely experienced trainer, but without any experience with SharePoint. Now, this was back in the 2007, 2008 kind of days, if I remember correctly. So quite some time back. But at that time, obviously SharePoint was on the rise. There was a lot of talk about why use it, what to do with it. She wanted to learn it. She found me in Chicago and asked me that would you meet with me for an hour at Panera Bread to just go over a few things that I'm planning. Because you've been a SharePoint trainer and consultant for so long, your information, your knowledge would help me. And I was willing to help. So I did meet her at Panera Bread just for an hour. Let's get together and I can definitely help answer questions and help if I can. When we got together, the first thing, I mean, she was extremely motivated. So we got together just after the quick pleasantries. She opened up her laptop and showed me exactly what she has done and what she is about to roll out tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So she was on the fast track to get this done. Okay, so here's what I saw. There was central administration is what she showed me first. Central administration, obviously in SharePoint, is the main thing on premises where you can configure all the different services and servers, etc. Fine, great. She had done a good job setting this up. Then she showed me a site collection. All right, but those of you listening to this who have been in the SharePoint industry for a long time, in this space for a long time, will appreciate what I'm about to say. She showed me a site collection which was created right underneath the SharePoint Central Administration web application. Okay, so a site collection which was created directly underneath SharePoint Central Administration, and that's where she was going to go ahead and invite all of her colleagues from different departments to start collaborating there. Now, at that point in time, honestly, I did not even know this was possible to do, and I was thinking, wow, this is pretty dangerous. That means You could actually make a site collection and make sites to have directly underneath central administration to facilitate collaboration. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but this was possible to do. It was a bad practice. I informed her, here's why you would not want to do it. You want to make a new web application and do everything over there. But if we had not talked, there would have been people in central administration doing whatever they wanted to do, because you would have had access at least to that site collection within their web application. Anyway, I don't want to go into too much of the technicalities. Main thing to remember over here is that this was definitely possible. This was done by an experienced trainer who just did not know SharePoint. Very, very possible for folks to find new ways of doing things online and just do them instead of realizing the impact of it. So hopefully this helps a bit. Now, I have some news for you. If you want people to do things the right way, if you want them to know exactly what needs to be done when, there's a quick solution for it. All right? And if you have the technology to make this happen, then you can do that. Here it is. Just pouring the knowledge directly into their head. Now, nothing that I'm aware of can do this yet, unfortunately. So because we can't do that, because we can't just let people understand exactly what's in our head, I'm going to tell you about the second best way that you can make this happen. So here's the second best way. Deliver just-in-time help to users. Just-in-time, the concept itself is not new. Just-in-time or performance support basically says, how can I help a user get their job done? Right? We're not talking about training. We're just talking about how can we help people just in time with just enough help to get their job done. You don't want people, obviously, to find ways of doing things that are not correct or they're not good practices. So you want to be careful about that, what they find on the internet. And many end users are not truly motivated to look elsewhere. They might go ahead and look on Google or Bing or whatever their favorite search engine is to find information, but they'll, most often than not, they will actually call somebody or email or ask a colleague nearby about some issues that they're having. And if they don't find the help they need, they'll move on, or they'll just give it to somebody else to do, or just ignore it completely. You don't want that to happen. At the same time, you don't want to overwhelm your users either with too much information, as we talked about. You want to give them just enough information to get their job done, to get from point A to point B, right? So how do you do that? How do you give them just the information they need at the moment of need? Let's talk a bit about that. Here's one way of doing so. So you could have quick tip sheets or quick reference cards like these, and you can put them right on their desk. If they have it physically on their desk, or at least if they have it electronically, they can display on a different monitor, or maybe the same monitor, informing them exactly what everything is on the page that they're looking at. So for example, the top one is SharePoint site, and this bottom one over here is the new modern experience, the new document library. And there's many, many other quick reference sheets like that. These kind of things are truly helpful. It's right there as they need it. They can understand what it is and go from there. So you'll find these and more at this link. Feel free to copy this link and go to it, and hopefully this helps. Another way of doing this is by providing them actual recommendations and best practices as they're doing their tasks. So I'm going to give credit where credit is deserved. This was provided to me compliments of user adoption expert Susan Handley. So Susan is a world-renowned expert in user adoption, governance, and all things related. She mentioned this to me actually many years ago, and she was right that if you have governance information, if you have best practices at the moment of need, in this case, for example, directly at a library, in this case, articles and publications, this helps the users make the right choices because the information is right there. So for example, here you have the file name recommendation, best practices of assigning metadata. They click on it, and a pop-up comes up and tells them exactly how to do certain things, or what not to do. So it's right there within the document library, not somewhere else that they have to go find. It's right there. Okay, so that's definitely another way of making it more contextual in nature. Here's one more way of doing this. So in this case, this is the VisualSP online help system. This VisualSP online help system provides, in this case, a guided walkthrough of, well, in this particular case, a SharePoint site, and also, where needed, provides videos and other type of content, familiarizing users with the exact interface elements, right? Exact elements on the page. So that's another way of getting the system like a VisualSP online help system, a contextual help system to help your users. Let's talk about number 4. Peer-to-peer learning. Social learning is truly key in today's world. People learn from each other, learn from their experiences, right? But first, let's talk about traditional end user training. I'm going to also relay a quick story here, which tells you about my own experience with traditional end user training. So I've personally been doing training, or providing training to all sorts of people for a very long time. First, I started with developer training back in the day, C#. Then after that, it was developer in SharePoint, developers in SharePoint, then administrators in SharePoint, then power users. And then I had been doing some end user training as well. This is also a few years back now. But here's what I found out. One of my training classes that I did, which was a 2-day class in Chicago, where I live, it was to a insurance-related institution. These people were experts in providing insurance to secondary education institutions, universities, colleges. I went there to train their people. 2-day class, just end users, about 30 people in the class. I did the training. We talked about all different elements that would apply to end users, starting with what is SharePoint, why is SharePoint, what is it in it for you, obviously. Talked about sites, libraries, lists, search mechanisms, all kinds of things which would apply to end users. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was doing the training. Everybody was nodding their heads. They understood everything I was saying. Great. After the 2-day training was over, these people who had hired me asked me to stay for another day. And the reasoning behind that was, if you stay, people who have questions, they can ask you if they have any questions from the class. And I was feeling pretty good about myself, so I thought, well, I probably won't have any questions because I just explained everything that they needed to know. So anyway, I stuck around for another day, and I'm sure you guessed what happened next. Lots of questions, actually. Lots of questions, not just on new things that I had not covered, but on things that I had covered. That, all right, you talked about, for example, permissions and security. Could you show me how to do it for this particular site for the people that I have? All right. Then I had another person walk in where I was sitting and ask, well, I have these pictures that need to go up on our intranet on SharePoint. Could you show me how to make that happen? So in this case, we talked about picture library and how she can put all those pictures from an event, a picnic that they had, into the picture library, make them thumbnails, etc. What I realized from this experience is, no matter how much you train, quote unquote, train users, that type of regular training truly doesn't work as it does for other types of users who are who have different objectives. So for developers, administrators, I had a different experience where they just found stuff out after they knew the basic concepts. For the end users, they still needed to be shown and be told exactly where to click, what to do to make something happen. So from this experience, my understanding has been that traditional training doesn't truly work for end users, in my humble opinion. All right, so regular classroom training and specifically training doesn't work. Don't get me wrong, you could definitely do awareness sessions, orientation sessions, all kinds of things where it makes them aware of what is it, why is it, what's in it for them, where to go for help. Those things truly work, but traditional training, I don't think does. Users cannot be made to do things that they don't want to do. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. Now, of course, unless you want to take extreme measures, which I don't recommend, regular user training doesn't work. Users cannot be made to do things they don't want to do, in my opinion. So, when training becomes awareness, like this says, it helps a lot. Very much about understanding their needs, helping them with their needs, empathizing with them, right? That is truly, truly helpful, a lot more helpful than training them. One of the concepts that I talk about is the typical lunch and learn. Now, there's many companies who have tried it or who still are doing lunch and learns, but there are some specific ways to do these that make a pretty big impact. So let me talk to you about that. First, it should be facilitated by, but not conducted by, the intranet or application manager or quote unquote the boss or the manager or whoever it is, the SharePoint guy, the SharePoint gal. Those people should not be the one, in my opinion, that should be teaching. They should not be conducting. They should be facilitating. And what I mean by that is you want to have other people who are in a roundtable type of format sharing ideas and talking about things. Okay, so a little bit more on that later. But first, you definitely want to hold these things on a regular basis. So it's whatever the frequency is, every other week, once a month, something. If you cannot do once a month, which I definitely recommend you do, but if you can't, then whatever you do decide on, keep a schedule for it. Okay, second Tuesday of every other month, or second Tuesday of every month, something like that. Regularity in this thing really matters. And this is what I was saying before. You want to have one person present what they like and possibly what they don't like about their intranet, about the different features and all that they have. This type of information, when shared by a colleague to other colleagues, is truly helpful and is taken as knowledge sharing, true peer-to-peer learning, instead of being taught something. So when you're doing it, it's more teaching, which people may or may not be open to. But when one of their colleagues is sharing their experience, it's learning. That goes a long way. And obviously, because this is lunch and learn, don't forget about the pizza. Free food is very, very helpful in these situations. You want to provide that. And it's cheap enough these days that you can go ahead and do that once a month, or hopefully more. And they will definitely not break the bank. Number 5 is incentivizing desired behavior. Remember WII-FM? The WII-FM radio, super important. What's in it for me, in this case, hits home, because if you do incentivize desired behavior of what you want, and you help them understand what's in it for them, goes a long way. So for number 5, here's a thought. Why not have either a new event or an existing event, if needed, where you truly recognize people? People love getting recognition and awards. Okay, and sometimes the recognition does not even require a word or money or anything like that. It's just recognizing somebody, recognizing Sarah, recognizing Sam, just maybe to have them come up and just say a few good words about them, having them in front of their colleagues. That recognition goes a long, long way in motivating them and appreciating them. Okay? Here are a few thoughts about the different specific award categories. So people ask all the time, well, what am I supposed to recognize them for? Here are a few examples that could help. More participation in discussion boards and news feeds and Yammer, Teams. So who is actually participating the most? most active in document collaboration. You want them, of course, to collaborate, not just read, but to collaborate within the documents or on top of the documents. Who's doing that? And obviously, most shares of content. So who's sharing the content with others? You want to track that. You want to appreciate that as well. Most helpful to colleagues. This is obviously very subjective in nature. It could be up for voting as well from their own colleagues as to who is the most helpful of the colleagues. But this, even though it's subjective, definitely is one of the best ways to award people. As I mentioned before, you can definitely have award stickers like these, and something like that, just giving that out makes a big difference. You can find some of these if you like at the next time you see VisualSP, or if you see me at a conference. I always have some to give out as the badges of honor to people. Now, how do you quantify all the different things that I've been talking about over here? Adoption, quantification of adoption. Here's my thought on that. So we have made a adoption checklist, which you can get using this link. And this adoption checklist goes over all the different things that your team and other teams around the world have already been doing. So for example, how do you make a communication plan, so governance plan, training plan? What kind of branding do you need or not need? What's your support plan? All these kinds of things are nicely placed over here in checkboxes, as you can see. So go ahead and download that, and that could help you, in my opinion, help you quite a bit. Let's summarize here the 5 things we talked about: solving a critical problem, developing champions, focus on context instead of just content, and offer frequent peer-to-peer learning events. Lastly, incentives and awards. So these 5 things, if done properly, are definitely going to help you move the needle on your adoption initiatives, and just making it easier and better for your users to trust you, to trust the team, trust the application, and have that empathy. You having empathy for them, and them also having empathy for you as to how hard your job is and what you're trying to accomplish. And with that will come better adoption, truly better usage of the right data at the right time. Hopefully all this information was useful to you. You can always download my presentations at visualsp.link/Asif conference. All my presentations are available there. If you see us at a conference, come visit us. Talk to me as well. I would love to understand, hear your thoughts. If this presentation, this helped you at all, let me know. Below is my contact information also if you'd like to reach out to talk about anything. And I hope this was helpful. So thanks for being here, and best wishes on your SharePoint initiatives.